welcome to a very special episode of Believe in Broncos. On this day, January 5th, 2026, the Denver Broncos are officially the top seed in the AFC playoffs. Patrick Coyote, Bri Macis, back with you after the Broncos secured the top seed with a 19-3 victory over the Los Angeles Chargers, the Herbertless Chargers. Broncos winning a big one. Welcome to the show, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook, your home for everything sports betting. Bri, it's so good to see you on this glorious Monday. How are you doing, first and foremost?
Doing quite well. Didn't lose my voice as I was anticipating. So that is great news on this Monday morning. Back at it. I've completely forgotten how to do my job after a couple of weeks off of work. So as I continue to figure out that, I couldn't imagine a better place to be than celebrating Week 18 victory with you, Pat. Lots to talk about. And as you already know, Broncos country is ablaze because still very fickle and not happy with the results on the field, which is wild to me. We'll get into it and we'll talk about why it's important that, allowing the fandom to fan as they may please. A win is a win. And 14-3 really does sound great for this Broncos team.
It sounds fantastic. And with that, the AFC, the NFL playoffs are set in stone. I don't know about you, but that game last night, the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game, was a banger. I was just in shock by both of these teams just duking it out. Of course, a massive implication for Denver as they will likely play one of those teams, Pittsburgh and Houston, matching up with each other. The rest of the playoffs look like this. Jacksonville will be hosting Buffalo, the 6th seed, and New England will be hosting the Chargers as the 7th seed. If the scenarios for the Broncos are kind of interesting, and we'll talk about our matchups, the matchups that we want to see. But the Broncos can really only play 4 of these teams. And on their road to the Super Bowl, this will be massive because they have home field advantage. They get this extra week off to get healthy, do some more groundwork, get things right, since people think that they're struggling going into the playoffs. This will be a good time off, but you can head over to FanDuel Sportsbook right now and check out the Super Bowl odds, because right now the Denver Broncos are sitting at 3rd for the Super Bowl LX winner. The Seahawks and Rams currently have the best odds to win the Super Bowl, but the Broncos are sitting at 3rd. So maybe Vegas is thinking, hey, they're the top seed. They've got home field advantage. Last time they played in San Francisco for a Super Bowl, they won. So maybe that's what's going into that. But Bri, the game yesterday, 19-3, Broncos had the ball for about 8 more minutes than the Chargers did. Of course, the Chargers playing mostly backups in that game. The Broncos playing it like it's a normal regular season game. Why did you think that the offense was underwhelming, like most of the fan base is complaining about?
No. And that's because they got the job done. I think they didn't necessarily do the least amount possible to get a win, but what I think is driving the fan base crazy is the points being left off the board. I don't even think it's a lack of points. I don't think it's necessarily that they're not crushing teams by 2 or more touchdowns. Simply the execution when it comes to long drives that end in field goals tend to drive most people crazy. What's I think more beneficial there, though, is that they did get 3 instead of 0. So any points is better than no points. And I think it is driving a little bit of the fan base mad because it's not akin to the 2013 season where you just assumed that it was 6 or more that were going on the board there with Peyton Manning and that offense. But this team is built and structured in a way that they don't have to necessarily drive that point home. And pun aside, I think it could be the idea that they're going into these matchups trying to get the job done, and everyone is playing their roles in order to do so. Now, I don't know where this misnomer comes from, where individuals are looking for a mistake-free match, where I just don't see that happening a whole lot. There's always something that really steps in the way of these teams being truly dominant. But I was having the conversation, we had this conversation after a couple of games this season, where what is the idea of dominant and where does it come from? A lot of people want to define it as 30 or more points strung on a team, but in the age of the NFL, that's not actually a goal. Your goal isn't to go out there and deconstruct a Herbertless Chargers team that wasn't resting all of their starters. And the goal was instead to get out as healthy as possible, which was being challenged very much so during that matchup. We saw All-Pro Garrett Bowles go down there for a moment. My heart skipped a beat. You had Alex Forsythe go down where Sam Mustipher had to step in. So there was a lot of things that could have gone worse than they did for the Broncos. They got out of there with the ability to take a week off and come back stronger than ever against one of the opponents, which I know we'll walk through, who's the scariest and who's not. But this team continues to rally against poor or good opponents and get the job done. So you don't make it to 14-3 in the league that is the NFL without doing your job. Sean Payton may have been labeled as lackluster when it comes to play calling, and you can hear it in the stands. Like I've been to 9 home games now where people are leaving. They're like, he should be doing a better job. Bo Nix is terrible. And it's like, you don't get the AFC 1 seed in being a terrible football team with a non-existent offense. It's just that it's not hitting the key points that make you rally around this team with full-fledged confidence. Now, the good piece of that is that you have an extraordinary defense, which this fan base has also gone outside of their norm and started to attack them for not playing at that elite level at all turning points. I can tell you right now, physically, the energy that it takes to play at that level, don't get me wrong, every week they should be going out there and getting the job done, but sometimes defenses have to take a step off. It's either rally by injury, it is the exhaustion after the midpoint. And to see the showing that we did on Sunday against this Chargers team, they really did carry this team once again. And I think it's a beautiful combination when it comes to how they match up against other opponents. So teams are structured in a way that they're not all similar. You can resemble a team very much so. And I think that like a nightmare scenario is having to face Houston with a healthy CJ Stroud and really trying to almost match and mirror yourself. Not to say that they're simplistically a duplicate of each other, but I do think that there comes a point where you have to say that this team is getting it done and they could be better. Now, last point, they have done what they've needed to do to clean up the game, especially when it comes to penalties. I believe they had one for 5 yards on Sunday.
Yep.
That is worlds away from the 16 that we were commenting about to start this season. So as they continue to show us that they are developing, they're strengthening, they're bolstering what makes this team truly great, to simply come on a Victory Monday and say that they are not doing what they need to do is wild to me. So I'm going to be like the dampener of fire. And so all of this fire that's coming forth of like, it's not good enough. Well, it's going to be good enough in 2 weeks when the Broncos go up against an opponent. We'll break it all down for you. And we'll tell you what they need to do in order to get the job done. But the Broncos continue to get the job done. And I think that's what's so important here with these matchups. We can talk about the uninspiring play calling, but Pat, you broke it down. It's working. Do they have to be cuter? Is that going to placate the masses?
No, I think it's just it kind of just boils down to execution. Sean called a really simple game plan, and I published a tweet about it, but I went through and I looked at all their pass plays and all their run plays. I mean, I guess all the plays really. And I boiled it down to like they ran the same concepts multiple times throughout this game. So they weren't like the play calling wasn't like we're not using the full sheet here. Like we might make it look a little different, but we're really just calling the same concepts. And the run game was just kind of what it was. I think that there was a lot of missed opportunities, especially in the red zone. You get to the red zone 4 times and you're kicking 4 field goals. That's not efficient. Like, yeah, you're putting points on the board, sure, but we're talking about the difference of 16 points at this point, right? So I think some of those situations you would have liked to see them score some touchdowns. And is that on Sean? Is it on Bo? I don't think so. It's on the team as a whole. We can't blame one guy for the whole play, being a disaster, right? Like every single thing has to fall into place for a single play to work. They had opportunities to score, and Sean said it in the press conference after the game. They're going to watch the film and they're going to say like, oh, there's a couple that, dang it, we want that back. Sure, absolutely. But those are the plays that come playoff time, we have to be executing those at a really high level. It was just a simple game plan. And I think what it was, hey, we know we're better than these guys. I don't care who's out there. You can't control that. You guys can't control that. What we can control is how we play. And we're going to play to win this game. We're going to get the 1 seed, and then we're going to take our sweet time getting ready. Got 14 days to get ready after this. Let's just go out there, play our game, and win. And that's exactly what they did. The defense was dominant, as always, turning turnovers into points. That's something that you wanted to see from this team, and by golly, you got it. And I wanted to see the offense execute better, and they didn't. And that's like, it's disappointing in that term, but like the play calling, no, like the play calling was fine. If I was in a similar position, I would probably call the game the same way. These guys got like, you can't continuously get 1-2 yards on run plays. Like that's not sustainable. So we have to figure out where do we need to execute better, especially in the run game. And to be honest, I liked what Sean was doing in the run game. It wasn't anything super sexy, but man, he had some concepts in there. He was pulling Alex Forsyth on a couple. He called the buck sweep RPO 2 times in this game, and I thought that was a fantastic call. It just wasn't executed correctly. People are going to complain about the screen game. Fine, complain about the screen game, but it's safe. It's safe, and it can be effective when it is blocked correctly. They had a couple screens get blown up. The Chargers also kind of saw the screen game coming. They saw it coming, and you can tell, especially from watching the film, like on screens, you are supposed to be drawing the defensive front in, especially if they're blitzing or they're bringing extra defenders. You're supposed to be pulling them in towards the quarterback. It didn't happen. They knew it was coming multiple times, and they stopped it. Nothing you can do about that. But you still came away with points, and that's great. But I think all in all, this was Sean Payton saying, let's get through this game. It's not going to be sexy. I'm not going to make Bo Nix throw the ball 100 times in this game, but
don't need to.
He was also getting pressured at a really high clip. 16 pressures in this game, 4 sacks, by far the most that he's seen. I mean, especially since the Jacksonville game. They were pressuring, and whether that's we're tired. We got other guys in there. You got Forsyth in there, and then Mustafa has to come in for a series or so. Palczewski's in and out. Powers is still new. Quinn did not have a good game by any means. Quinn, for whatever reason, the Chargers just have his number. I think that this was just a game that we can just chalk up to yeah, we want to win this. We're just going to call stuff that we know we can hit, and we're going to try and win this game. So
I did like, though, Pat, that it kind of forced Bo Nix to step out of the comfort zone of the momentum that he was finding in the last
yeah,
couple of weeks. It did see him roll out a little too often, especially to the left side, where I do feel like he was pressured. And
yeah,
I also don't think he was trusting a lot of the protection that was being given. And I don't like to center focus it on anyone to blame, but when you have a collapse to that magnitude, the frustration arises. And then at a certain point, as a conductor or a captain of a ship, Bo has to start making decisions to then take on the run game himself.
yeah,
And
and he did.
or yeah, and he absolutely did. I think that I like to see it. I'd like to see it in a more controlled endeavor, but what I like to see as a tendency doesn't mean it's ideal for Bo Nix. And I think what he really does well is he's able to kind of sling everything on his shoulders and say, then I'm going to do it this way because I'm facing too much pressure on this right side. So
Yeah,
I did enjoy that he was really leaning into that. Like, no, you're not doing your job, so I have to do it this way. But I also think it allowed for there to be some surprises from the offense where you get a Jaleel McLaughlin game at some capacity. And that was a different spark. I think as this team becomes more comfortable through the discomfort, right? That's the whole point of adversity, is that you learn and grow and develop from that you start to see different playmakers. And it doesn't have to be one splashy guy, especially right now. Again, defenses win championships, and what we're seeing is they're able to close the door on that. But Pat, I agree. I was trying to make myself feel better with 3 points on the board instead of 7, but at the end of the day, you cannot get that close and not be able to hammer it home. Some misses are absolutely on the quarterback, and some are just simply the role of the team not having their feet underneath them. So
yeah. I mean, we were talking about it before the show. I mean, that play where Bo is just standing there in the pocket. I'll walk through the listeners for it. So they were at the 8-yard line. Chargers called cover 2. The Broncos called mesh, and it was out of empty too, which was fantastic. Love it. But you had RJ Harvey and Pat Bryant were the 2 drags. So that's your mesh. And then you had Evan Ingram, who is kind of he's playing that center pole. So he's got a spot route that's just sitting in the end zone, right? And then you've got Marvin Mims on the outside, on the left side. He's supposed to just take that corner. So take that flat corner and pull him away from the incoming drag. And then you've got Cortland Sutton on the other side, just kind of running a corner to the end zone. That also will pull either the safety or the corner. And it does a good job of it. But they ran cover 2. In mesh, in cover 2, the 2 crossers that have the mesh part, if it is zone coverage, they are supposed to sit down. You sit down before you get to the next defender. That is the soft spot. You've got the middle of the field controlled, so you don't have to worry about that. RJ Harvey did not sit down. Didn't sit down. If he sat down, Bo probably rips it to him. All he has to do is turn around and it's a touchdown. But that's a rookie mistake. That's what I'm talking about when we talk about execution and we talk about just focusing on the little things. You, in that moment, you have to be able to determine, okay, is it zone? Is it man? Then it changes the whole thing of the concept. Pat Bryant also did not stop. He kept going. Granted, he had a defender on his hip, but he kept going. You have to sit down. It's zone. You have to see it. Sit down. And as a quarterback coach, I feel for Bo in that moment. You're standing there, you're waiting for something to come open. There's nothing. The pocket is taken. You've got no outlet. They're doing very well containing. So you have to step up and try to make something happen. That's tough. That's a tough ask. And you can see the frustration on the offensive line side after he takes that sack, those guys were upset. They were pissed. At that point, like, you're trying to score. I feel you, but that's where the execution aspect has to come into play. You've got to be able to execute, especially in the red zone. When you have those opportunities, you have 4 opportunities to score in the red zone, and you missed on all 4 of them. You
Right.
pick field goals, and that's great. We need to turn those into touchdowns, especially in the playoffs. Bri, let's talk about the playoffs. There's gonna be some big question marks, but I want to talk about, you mentioned it, nightmare matchup, dream matchup. So here's the scenarios. The Denver Broncos can play 4 teams in the second round. Okay. The first team being Buffalo. That only happens if Buffalo beats Jacksonville in Jacksonville, New England wins, Pittsburgh, Houston, doesn't matter at that point because Buffalo would be the lowest seed. They can play Houston if Jacksonville and New England win and Houston wins. They can play Pittsburgh if Jacksonville and New England win and Houston loses. They can play the Chargers if Jacksonville wins, Pittsburgh, Houston doesn't matter, and the Chargers win. So if the Chargers beat New England in New England, Jesse Minter, please call the game of your life. We'll see the Chargers again here in a couple weeks. Out of those scenarios, give me your nightmare matchup and your dream matchup.
I need a second to sort of figure out what is a nightmare, because
do you
initially,
want to hear mine first? Okay.
No, I'm going to lean into the idea that I really don't want to face a team for a third, for like a best 2 out of 3 scenario. I think the Chargers have the capability to really hurt the Broncos because they've done so many times in the past. They often have their number, and that does sting a little bit when you're considering, the AFC West implications of what it then means for the Broncos to come into a little brother scenario. And I don't love the way that feels. So a lot of my fandom rides on not meeting the Chargers in having this expectation that, they've beat us healthy once before. And I know it was just by a walk-off field goal, but the nightmare there is rematching with them and not making it out unscathed. And it's not in a predictability mindset, because I'm not scared of the Chargers and what they're currently dealing. I think Houston defensively scares the heck out of me because they are on a roll of epic proportions. And honestly, this offense doesn't have the firepower to overcome that. It would be such a gritty game. And I think it honestly comes down to vibes. The reason I'm not picking Buffalo or Pittsburgh is because I don't think it's Buffalo's year. I don't think it will ever be Buffalo's year. I think they've simply run the long game and they have stressed out and exhausted most of their efforts. Now, Josh Allen is very much so capable of slinging the entirety of the offense on his back. But I don't think that they have the mechanics to get it done. And Pittsburgh is limping around on one foot, but we've seen Aaron Rodgers, and we just witnessed it last night, do what he does best. He will inevitably miss some wide open shots and sail it over the head of Smith and nearly wipe out his receiving core. But when healthy, they will also have all of their pieces back.
Yeah,
I don't like the idea that matchup wouldn't be the worst. So if you had to rank them, I think Chargers for all of the reasons, then it would be Houston, Pittsburgh, and then Buffalo. Now, watch this be the year that Josh Allen is finally able to find a clutch gene and figure it out. But I will tell you first and foremost, please don't come for me, believe in the Bills. He just doesn't have it. And so that one doesn't scare me. But I please, I am leaning into a lot of my biases here when I make that ranking. So do not come for me. But I guess I would say that the Buffalo's my dream matchup. I don't know. I don't know. I'm really
get some revenge for last year.
Yeah, it
in
was a
Denver
terrible.
too.
That's why it sounds crazy, right? That does make
Yeah.
it seem like I'm on fandemonium right now because I'm like, I'm not scared of them when they beat the brakes off of us last year.
Mm.
But this team is not the same. I think I have to shout it from the rooftops. This Broncos team, they made the playoffs last year. It was very much so like oh no, look at that. Look at what they're doing. That's interesting. This year is a whole lot different. They are constructed differently. Sean Payton has molded them in a way. The culture is like seamless. And so I just see it being a different outcome. But the way that Josh Allen can put points on the board, they would have to match that, and they would have to match it at a high clip. So I feel strong about my ranking. I do. How about yours?
I respect it. I think that this defense right now, as they stand, second best rush defense in the NFL. I think some revenge for last season. Initially, I said my dream matchup would be Pittsburgh. Do I think Houston loses to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh? Probably not. But seeing the Pittsburgh defense last night, those guys are flying around. Secondary is, but that front that they have, the rotation of edge guys that they have, and their run defense. I mean, they're always going to be really tough, especially when they're playing at home. But on the road, maybe a different story, especially in Denver. But honestly, you kind of swayed me a little bit. Maybe having Josh Allen and Buffalo come to Denver for a little revenge game would be interesting, especially with, I mean, there's a lot of layers to it. The Buffalo and their struggles this year, the Denver defense not being the same unit that it was. The run defense is incredibly better, especially even down the stretch. I feel like the run defense has been really solid. That's a good matchup for the Buffalo offense that has relied a lot on James Cook for this season. So can you take that away and force Josh Allen to have to play Superman with Brandon Cooks and Khalil Shakir and Dawson Knox and all those guys? Like maybe that is the case. I think my nightmare matchup though, Bri, is Jacksonville. You talked about seeing a team again, and yeah, like seeing the Chargers again would be kind of nightmarish, especially if they're getting guys back and Herbert has somehow figures out that he can play well in the playoffs, and add in Jesse Minter and John Harbaugh. That would be tough, but Jacksonville scares the crap out of me. They do. And seeing how they played coming into Denver, and putting just an ass whooping on this team that was riding so high, I mean, damn, they seem to be scoring. I look at the scoreboards every week, and it's like they're scoring 30, 40 points a game every dang week. Top 6 scoring offense in the league. I mean, they only scored less than 30 points in their last 5 games. They only scored less than 30 points one time, and that was against the Colts. And I mean, 36, 48, 34, 23, 41. This offense is scary. Trevor Lawrence is playing like a madman right now. Liam Cohen, I mean, he did a lot of great things in Tampa Bay with that team. He's doing a lot of great things with the offense in Jacksonville. That defense is very good. People should not sleep on that defense at all. That would be my nightmare, because I feel like they would come into Denver and they'd be like, hey, we've done this once before. We can do it again. And that is the matchup that I definitely do not want to see.
What is the scenario that we do see Jacksonville?
Well, we wouldn't see them until the AFC Championship game.
Right. And so that's where
they would have to get there. And that's
don't get
what
me
scares
wrong.
me.
You're 100% right. Like if they make it to that point,
yeah,
which I don't see why they wouldn't. Now, I do think Trevor Lawrence has the ability to be up and down still. They are on a heater though. But Pat, you and I both know that seeing a I know I was just talking about 2 out of 3, but 1 out of 2 when you're facing a
Yeah.
team that you've already seen. Plus, they got the defense on a really bad night. And so
Yeah, they did.
it goes both ways. You can
Yeah.
figure out this Broncos offense and you can amass a strategy to limit and get the job done. Like I full force agree with you. An AFC championship title that involves the Jaguars invokes some feelings that
Scary.
I'm not proud of. But I
Yeah.
also think that at this point, at this juncture in the almost postseason, I see a way in which they can get it done, but I absolutely agree. The nightmare is that you
Yeah.
already know what the other is capable of. So now you're playing an opposition track, right? Like you're being a defensive play
Mhm.
caller. And that, but not the defense,
Yeah.
right? Like your offense is now playing defense. Hopefully that makes sense. Again,
Yeah.
it's been a long 2
Yeah. You're
weeks.
playing keep away. And
Yeah.
you're trying to keep like, and that's what we talked about before that game was you have to try and keep this offense off the field for as long as possible because they will put up points. They sacked Trevor Lawrence 5 times, and he still threw for 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Right.
He still ran in for a touchdown. Like that's insane. They sacked him 5 times. Granted, there were some calls in that game that could have probably gone the other way. The sack fumble that probably like that's on the officials. I can't blame anybody for that. But like there were some things that definitely could have gone the other way. And I think like if they are to play again, yeah, you like Sean Payton has to look at Davis Webb and Bo Nix and say, what do we need to do differently here? What do we need to do differently? Guys need to stop dropping the ball. We got to play better on special teams. Defense has to fix the communication issues in the back end.
Yeah.
And it's probably a closer game. But that team scares the crap out of me. They really do. And I think that if it comes down to it and they survive Buffalo, they survive New England or Pittsburgh or Houston or whoever it is they're going to play, it's going to be really tough because they're going to be riding a lot going into that game. They're going to be riding a lot. And Liam Cohen, I mean, he's hungry. We've seen it from the jump. He is very hungry and he's ready to get that team to a title. He thinks that they can win. I honestly, I'm not going to lie, Bri. If the Denver Broncos don't make it to the Super Bowl, my hope is that the Jacksonville Jaguars do, and they have to face off against Seattle or Los Angeles. And I'm probably taking the Jaguars in that game. That's just the honest to God truth. I think they have it. I think they do. Bri, let's talk really quick before we get out of here. Now that the season's over, all these awards are going to come out. We're going to see Offensive Player of the Year, MVP, Rookie of the Year, all that stuff. I want to know. We split this up. We can't just do one MVP for the Broncos. That's crazy. So we're going to do offensive and defensive MVPs. And I want to start with you. Who is your defensive MVP of the Denver Broncos this season?
It was really hard to choose just one, right? Because the implications are is that they are the most valuable player who is out on the team at all times. And sometimes that comes in earnest when a starter goes down, right? Like I don't think necessarily it has to be the guy that's the number one star. I do want to say I had some honorable mentions. It's going to sound crazy. Riley Moss was in that caliber simply because of the work that he's done to really clean up the issues and how important it was for him to be on the other side of Patrick Surtain, getting the job done, really stepping up into a role that is rife with frustrating factors. I think there's also a good case in point for Talanoa Hufanga, simply because his addition on this defense has been the sauce upon the steak and frites, if you will. It's just like it made everything so much better. I know I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. And then also I think it's important to to point to a Justin Strnad who has been irreplaceable and having to deal with some injuries and, contracts that are coming up. I think that he has played the role marvelously. And that's all me to kind of vamp away from the point, because I want to go in a different direction with this, because we're saying value, like true value on this defense. It doesn't have to be, I guess, reputation, or like I was sitting here thinking about like contract size or name recognition. And it's not a what have you done for me lately. I think it's Jaquan McMillan, because the consideration there is impact moments. You have true versatility. The trust that was bestowed upon him, it was not just living up to his protected matchups, because he lives in the slot. And I think it goes two ways, because the offenses have to hunt, and McMillan has to survive this season. That's all. That's his limited role, right? That's all you've ever asked from the position, but he thrived. And so the opportunity for the Denver Broncos to keep its structure intact in coverage, I think, was really the point of not sacrificing your pressure and your packages there. And I think that's where you have a McMillan who's been able to come in and be timely. I mean, we saw it some last season. I think the last time the Broncos had a pick six was last year, and it was McMillan's work. I think being in the momentum setting pass breakups, I think had turnovers gone a different way this season, you could point directly to him. I know a lot of that's kind of projecting what his ability would be, but I think that it gives this defense flexibility when he's on the field, especially when injuries hit. McMillan has been somewhat of a constant there, and I think Vance Joseph trusts him in coverage. I think that his communication is there, and without really needing help or assistance, you get the contact that you need, you get the tackles that you want, and honestly, it's the intangibles. I think they feed off of his energy. The entirety of the defense really bends with what his presence dictates. So it is kind of an out there pick, and there's absolutely so many deserving individuals. I mean, Pat Surtain is hard not to paint as the MVP. You have the sack master and Nick Bonito that I think needs a ton of recognition for what he's been able to do. And that's fallen off a little bit. But I want to point out the idea that he is inevitably injured. I mean, he's got absolutely everything wrong with you. Everything wrong that you could have with an edge rusher and still push him out there, he has wrong with him. So I just want to say there are a ton of guys on this field. I did want to highlight specifically McMillan for what he's done for this defense. It may not be the flashiest. I don't think that we want to sit here and paint it as this is like the end all be all, because like I said, there's so many guys on this team that would deserve that nod in that direction. Honestly, you could look to Jonathan Cooper, who, as that combination goes, is just as instrumental to those QB pressures as any sack totals would show you who the real lights out defender is there. Then you go to the interior. So I don't want to get too flower crazy and start throwing bouquets at everyone. But I do think it's important to note that with a defense of this caliber and as elite as they are playing, there really is something to say about the role that is granted upon all of these guys and their positions, and then the extra steps that they have taken towards execution that really has made this you could almost give the award to the entire side of the football, which I would love to do. Even the guys that have annoyed me since the beginning of the season, I think have come in and done exactly what we could have asked of them. And then I want to keep talking about it because I simply think everybody's deserving of some type of nod, but that's the direction I'm going to go in.
Yeah. I just can't believe that Benito still finished second in sacks behind Miles. It felt like he hadn't had a sack in weeks. But I mean, he's still second. So I like it though. I think McMillan is a great point, especially because, we were kind of questioning, like, what is his role going to be after drafting Jahdae Barron? And, he was the most targeted slot defender in the NFL last year, gave up the most yards, gave up the most yak. And and I feel like he really bounced back in a great way, and he definitely has had an impact on that defense, and it cannot be understated. So I like it. I think maybe it's not the one that most fans would pick, but I think for those who think logically, I think that's a good one. I mean, but think about like the no-fly zone teams. Like,
Yeah.
would we have just said Aqib Talib or Von Miller or DeMarcus Ware? Like, Chris Harris Jr. had a really big role in that defense, and he did it all over the field, but especially from the slot, and his energy was contagious. And I feel like McMillan shares a lot of those same qualities. So
you see the vision, Pat. I'm glad.
I do. I see the vision. As for offense, Bri, I think can't be understated. Bo Nix has been incredible for a second-year quarterback, someone that a lot of people counted out. People still count out. I was receiving so many texts yesterday. Bo Nix is ass. Bo Nix is this. Bo Nix is that. And I'm like, yeah, man, okay. Guy is still top 10 in passing yards, passing touchdowns, most drops in the NFL. This guy, least amount of sacks taken by any qualifying quarterback in the NFL. There's a reason for that. This guy has been, I don't think if Jarrett Stidham is in this offense, I don't think he puts up the same numbers at all. And that's fine. He's not supposed to. But Bo Nix, I feel like, has been the absolute offensive MVP. The way that he's carried himself and the way that he has shown up in big moments in games, and just like kept extending drives and making big throws. And he'll make some big throws that are dropped, and that's really shitty. But then he gets the blame for it, and that's where it's like, dude, he's out there making plays. He's operating the offense really well. And he's just focused on one thing. He's not looking to be the MVP. He's not looking to be the guy that gets all the glory. He is trying to play for his team and help this team accomplish their top goal. So for me, the offensive MVP is RJ Harvey. No, I'm just kidding. It is Bo Nix. I think that he deserves a lot of credit, and I hope that they keep building around him, because they do have something special. You've got a guy who is incredibly smart. You've got a guy who is really efficient in quick game stuff. You've got a guy who is super athletic and can extend plays just like a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. You've got a guy who has all of those intangibles, and he doesn't take sacks, which is fantastic. So I definitely think he deserves a lot of love and a lot of credit for being what he was the first. Hold on, I have the stat here. He is the only quarterback in NFL history with 10 or more wins. I love QB wins as a stat. 10 or more wins and 30 or more touchdowns in each of his first two seasons. Only one. Led his team to a 14-win season, the top seed in the AFC. Not bad for a guy who was a sixth best quarterback in his class.
Can we commend him too on the mentality? I think that as he continues to grow and develop, also as the human element that I love to talk about, that I think we discount far too frequently, is that he seems to understand the ownership of the position and the opportunity in which he is granted to go out and play football every single week, especially for the Denver Broncos. He owns it, he lives it, and he leans into it, even if the stadium is booing the offensive output. He understands that it will happen again. And I think to have that level of maturity as he continues to show the same kind of poise and determination on the field as he does off the field, that's a great starting point for a second-year quarterback who is continuing to grow into his role. And I hope they do. I hope they continue to build around him, because now he could use so much more help. And if the patience is there, because I've heard the gamut of the conversations. Do you replace Bo Nix with somebody else? Who else would you replace him with? Which other quarterback is in the league that you would instantly slot in and see better results because this team is the caliber and Bo Nix is holding them back? It's ridiculous because Bo Nix is the reason that this team is in the position that they are. Defenses close games, but Bo Nix is charioting this race, and I think it's very important that he is granted that MVP. I think it is very much so earned, and I can't wait to see what he's able to do in this postseason. It is different. It's not your first rodeo. You've been there, you've tasted the defeat, and now you know what a truly dominant winning season feels like. And I hope that it continues through the postseason because it not just as a fan. I think it's good for the NFL when the Broncos are good.
I think so too. They've got the most one seeds in NFL history since the merger. I mean, they love to count us out. They hate to see us win. Granted, we've only won 3 times, but we'll save that for another time. Bri, that's going to do it for us. Make sure that you follow us on social media at Bri Maestas 303, at Patrick Coyote. Follow at Believe Network as well. Make sure that you subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. We really appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a review too. If you like what we say, if you don't like what we say, we want to see it, and maybe we'll talk about it. But until then, enjoy your time off because the Broncos have some time before their next football game. We will be watching Wild Card Weekend with a very close eye on who the Broncos' next matchup will be. Until next time, we love you. We support you. The Denver Broncos are the top seed in the AFC. That's what we love to see. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.